What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name is Michael Roman. Now, with this upcoming Disney Investors Day that's yet to be confirmed but was heavily reported after the Q3 earnings call, we expect the final official word from Disney and by extension Marvel Studios, specifically focused on those productions which they have yet to release this year. Of course, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, and Black Widow. And in light of that, and having to wait until San Diego Comic-Con 2021 if there'll even be announcements there regarding any new projects, it looks like it's going to be quite a while before we hear of anything upcoming at Marvel Studios. Today we're going to use all of the reports, leaks, confirmations, and breaking news we've covered here at the channel over the last year since Avengers Endgame's release to read the tea leaves and anticipate the next 10 unannounced but to be released films for the Marvel Phase 5 slate after they hopefully complete the current slate in 2022. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button, we're giving away 2 PlayStation 4 Pros as well as a whole slew of other Marvel related stuff, including this insane 1/4 scale XM Studios Beta Ray Bill and our 3rd Infinity Saga box set. If you want to be entered to win, all you have to do hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell, leave a like and a comment on this video, and if you want, stick around at the end of the video. We'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Now, as I mentioned right at the end of the prologue, the current slate that Marvel Studios has released and updated due to the earlier delays this year takes us through the end of 2022, each film having a release date and a director attached, except for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. We're still waiting on an official announcement for that release date, but with Captain Marvel slated to take place in July now, it's easy to say that it's going to come some point at the end of the year, probably around their normal November release date. Now, in light of that, and hoping that they can finish their slate by that point, the new Marvel Phase or Marvel Phase 5 would start in the beginning of 2023, and assuming they keep the exact same pace of 3 movies per year, which, quick side note, they could easily deviate from with an extra Spider-Man movie every other year, these 10 films would take us 2023 through 2026. And here's the best part, we're going to get to look back on this video and actually give me a letter grade with only 10 movies to guess. It's going to be hard to come by a passing grade. That's what we're going to attempt to do. Also, it would have been easier to not try to pick these in release order. We're definitely not going to guess dates, but since we had to go in some sort of order anyway, likely release order seems better than any. And the first is admittedly just a bit of a cheat in Blade. Look, it is unannounced in some way. They said that it's coming and we have a logo, but there's been no director announcement and no news since the initial announcement, that is. And considering that we'd have 10 films over the next 3 years, it's impossible to see how they would go ahead, announce another 10 films and put those out before they'd finish Blade. So easily the very first movie that should be released by Marvel or will make the calendar in 2023 as the beginnings of Marvel Phase 5 will indeed be the Blade franchise, and there are a ton of Easter eggs between now and then that'll notably show up most likely in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. The second film that we know is coming only because of those previous announcements, and again, this coming at San Diego Comic-Con 2019, no logo, no director announcement, there's been no release date, nothing official from Marvel Studios, is of course the Fantastic Four. There's no way Kevin Feige went on stage during San Diego Comic-Con and said that they were coming to the MCU and that they wouldn't pull the trigger on this within 20 productions under the studio's flag. We know that they're coming. They wouldn't have seeded all of those Easter eggs at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, which have been covered at length here at YouTube. If they weren't going to make good on them, you can assume safely, and especially what's happened with the bottom line for Disney this year, the Fantastic Four are coming, and sooner than later, as they would look to make a huge profit off of a brand new franchise like that. And when I say like that, I specifically mean a huge legacy franchise team-up movie that'll be coming a full 4 years after the release of Avengers Endgame if it makes an early 2023 release. Now, speaking of Spider-Man Far From Home, we know that like clockwork, and since the agreement, Sony and Marvel Studios have been releasing a Spider-Man movie every other year, and we've reported on it several times here at the channel that the Spider-Man trilogies are just getting started in the MCU. It's obvious that Sony and Marvel will continue to want to do this, putting that next release in 2023, usually during the summer months, which we would have right here, making the likely candidate for, again, the beginnings of Marvel Phase 5, as they've been coming every other year. It's hard to see why they would want to deviate from that, leaving only one release left in 2023 or the beginning of 2024. Remember, I said we would do 3 movies a year, but with an added Spider-Man movie every other year. So if there was one more movie left for Marvel Studios in a fall release for 2023, you have to think at this point it would be Deadpool. Look, that was a huge billion-dollar franchise that will now have been on the shelf for such a long time, and Ryan Reynolds is an extremely hot commodity as far as an actor. This franchise, while shelved for as long as it has been, still looks to make a ton of money over at Marvel Studios, and if our inkling is right that there may be a future for R-rated or semi-R-rated franchise team-up movies in the future, this is the perfect testing ground to see if Disney can wade into that territory successfully without alienating a majority of their PG-13 superhero fan base. It makes all the sense in the world for this to come sooner than later, like some of these other films, and if we had to guess as to that next release kicking off Marvel Phase 5, Deadpool 3, or Deadpool 1, depending on how the title goes and whether it's a reboot of the character. Also, quickly, I'd like to mention, in a move that I think would make Ryan Reynolds proud, I definitely just used the verb wade when talking about Wade Wilson and didn't say pun intended, and I'm not sure how many of you caught it. Either way, this the most likely candidate for the final release in 2023 again, if there is one. Now, moving into 2024, thinking about what could come next, usually February is used to launch brand new titles and brand new franchises, and there have been a lot on the table. Rumors and reports of franchises like Nova, characters like Namor getting their own film, and having to decide between the two, again with no brand new announcements coming, but knowing there is a long time between now and 2024, Namor looks like the most likely title. We broke in an exclusive a couple of months back here at the channel from none other than friend of the channel and industry insider Mikey Sutton that unlike the Hulk, Marvel had indeed secured the rights to Namor from Universal and were now free to make a solo movie. If we're truly leading to the Illuminati, and if the setup for Namor is coming like we think in the upcoming Eternals, there's a good chance that Marvel will want to make a Namor solo film, as this character has always had a legendary and prominent storyline throughout the comics and Marvel Universe, and looks to have just a prominent play in the upcoming films and franchises, especially if we're leading to a new Avengers Illuminati title, which he would be a major member of. Now, moving on for that, and speaking of a new Avengers title, I do not think that's coming in the next 10 films, but an Avengers title all the same. I've said it a million times here at the channel, you don't build something into the biggest global media brand like Avengers Endgame was, only to walk away from it and not make good on another Avengers title. But when it comes, it's looking more and more likely the case that the next Avengers title we're going to get in the MCU, and something that we assume we'll get during 2024, will indeed be the Young Avengers. Look, it's undoubtable at this point, and I said it just a couple of videos ago, that we're getting an overwhelming number of Young Avengers team members introduced in Disney Plus series. In the next 2 years alone, you'll have both of WandaVision's twins, Miss Marvel, Kate Bishop. There are a ton already being introduced. How could you ever bring in all of these characters and not make good on it with a Young Avengers title, especially when it'll have been, at this point, 5 years since an Avengers release in Avengers Endgame. When speaking on 2024, I think it's a miracle that Disney and Marvel Studios make it that long without some sort of Avengers follow-up title, and although it has been rumored for Disney Plus in the past, all things considered, it looks like the most likely candidate for the silver screen. And again, 5 years after the last Avengers title puts it in the perfect place for that sort of early spring May release date for Marvel Studios in 2024. Now, assuming there won't be a Spider-Man film this year, as we mentioned, it would be every other year. That would be 2025 for the next one. The late fall release or summer release for that year for Marvel Studios would most likely be something super important to one of the storylines that they've been leading to this entire time. That's why we think the likely case for this slot could easily be the Thunderbolts. We're finding out so many pieces of this storyline exist in the beginning of Marvel Phase 4, and at some point they've got to bring all of that together. We've also made the argument, since basically we've been a YouTube channel here at Everything Always, that you're not keeping around General Thunderbolt Ross if at some point you're not going to turn him into the Red Hulk. And of course, with several iterations of the Thunderbolts team, one started by Baron Zemo, who's still in the mix, another named after, well, Thunderbolt Ross, there's a likely chance at the end of Black Widow we're going to see a post-credit scene that's going to lead us to the Thunderbolts team up. There were some rumors about James Gunn being interested in directing that film, but considering he's also taken on the Suicide Squad franchise over at DC now, and he'll be wrapping up at Marvel with Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It's hard to imagine him jumping right into another film that would come out a couple years after that release in the end of 2022. Rather, someone may pick up the directorial debut on this. Either way, the Thunderbolts are a likely candidate considering how many pieces are now confirmed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe with just the limited narrative knowledge we already have for Marvel Phase 4. Now that would wrap up 2024, taking us into 2025. This would be another year for a Spider-Man movie, hoping that that would be Spider-Man 5, the second movie in the second trilogy in the MCU. By this point, who knows, we may just have a black suit Spider-Man and or Venom. Only time will tell, but there will be an early release date February of that year. We could easily see that either being Black Panther 3 or Captain Marvel 3, depending on where they're at with the trilogies and again what they're leading towards as a next crossover event. This will be 2025, another 2 or 3 years after these franchises. We're anticipating Captain Marvel only because of the role that she's set to play, how she's supposed to be this prominent and or replacement for Captain America and lead the upcoming Avengers team. It would make sense then that they would get to wrapping up her trilogy sooner than later. It could also be a Doctor Strange third installment. Either way, with a February release date for Captain Marvel and then a Spider-Man movie in the summer, we have one movie left for the next 10, the 10th slot, and we're going to go out on a limb and say at some point they have to have a solo movie for one of the X-Men introduced. And just how long can you sit on the Wolverine IP before you recast and bring him into the live action universe? Even though he may have a debut somewhere along the way, as we've reported here at the channel, I don't see how in the world they don't have a Wolverine franchise with a solo film, and we anticipate that in the next 10 releases after the 10 we've seen, so in the next 20 or 25 films that Marvel does on the big screen, Wolverine is going to be one of them. And it wouldn't be a surprise, as it would have been over a half decade since their last film if the Russos came back to pick that up and lead that franchise into Secret Wars, as they talked about most recently. There you have it, guys. That's our guess at the next 10 films to be released for what we would call Marvel Phase 5, taking us in to the later part of 2025, the beginnings of 2026. And as I said, the best part about this is I'm going to get a report card in the next couple of years when we can make good on the announcements and see just what's coming. Guys, let me know all your thoughts down below. If there's a film that I didn't include that you think should be included, go ahead and say so, as well as the vice versa. If you think one of these isn't going to make the cut, something like a Namor, let me know if you have something better in mind. I'm all ears. And quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. We're still giving away 2 PlayStation 4 Pros, the next of which is at the 700,000 subscriber mark. Of course, we'll switch over to the 5 once we have those in hand, but it could be a while until then. So in the meantime, PlayStation 4 Pros it is. All you have to do to be entered to win, hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell with notifications turned on, leave a like and a comment on this video, and that'll automatically enter you to win all the rest of the prizes here at the channel. At the 750 mark, we'll be giving away this insane 1/4 scale XM Studios Beta Ray Bill. This is a museum quality, exquisitely crafted representation of the character, as well as the 3rd limited edition Infinity Saga box set at the end of the year during the holiday season. That means December. Now, we've already given away 2 here at the channel. If you're not familiar with these were limited and pre-ordered to 4,000 last year and have absolutely shot up on the secondary market. We've gotten our hands on a 3rd to give away here at the channel. If you want to be entered to win either of the PlayStations, the Beta Ray Bill, this 3rd limited edition Infinity Saga box set, or any of the future prize announcements, all the same rules will always apply. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell with notifications turned on to keep up with the channel. Like and comment on the video, and the more videos that you comment on, because it's truly random, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos, the same way we're doing here. And if you've missed any of the previous winner announcements, no worries. All you have to do is scroll back to the channel, look for the winner announcement in the sub count in the title, click on that video, and scroll to the end. My name's Michael Roman. This is Everything Always, guys. Thanks so much for checking out the channel, and stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.